Aaron Rodgers said something that I thought was pretty interesting, that we're too quick to shit on guys and too quick to anoint them. Speaking of Jordan Love, and basically he told McAfee that, he holds no bitterness. And, obviously he wishes things would have played out differently in Green Bay, which he played a big role in that. And he admitted that, like he wishes things he could have done differently, but then he roots for these guys. And listen, some people are able to live in this like vengeful, hold a lot of animosity toward other people forever. And, I think Colin said this once upon a time, that holding a grudge is like chain smoking hate. Some people can pull it off, right, and be really successful. Portnoy is a good example. He's very spiteful, and it fuels them, and it works. For me, whenever I do that, it just creates, I don't like the way I feel. I think it makes me counterproductive. So I've really, in my latter years, in my 30s, tried to be much more of a positive person when things in my past haven't worked out for whatever reason. And it served me well. And I do take Aaron at face value when he says, like, yeah, I'm rooting for these guys, specifically Jordan Love. Now, my pushback would be, we're too quick to crush guys and anoint guys. The general manager of the Green Bay Packers, Brian Gutekunst, was the guy that went on record several weeks ago that said these last 10 games for Jordan Love will determine his status for the team. Because that's a fact, right? When you're a coach, when you're a GM, you evaluate every game. And when you have a guy like him, who is, contracts and years matter, right? They have him on a 2-year, $11 million deal. So if he would have sucked like he did early in the season all year long, they would have been in position to draft a guy, and he wouldn't be their quarterback anymore. Just like Brian Gutekunst said, these next 10 games are going to go a lot to determine his future. Well, he's playing well. They're winning games. He will continue to be their quarterback now, and they're not going to draft a quarterback anymore. He changed the narrative. But internally in that building, whether it's LaFleur, whether it's Gutekunst, whether it's everyone with the Packers, they're constantly evaluating you. And they're trying to figure out, are you not good enough? Or are we just anointing you as our starter moving forward? That's the job. That's part of the deal. Now, putting guys on pedestals, like, listen, this is back to the Purdy thing. Anyone acting like Purdy is like destined to go to the Hall of Fame or going to be an all-time great quarterback, we got a long way to go. Anyone doing that is an idiot. But anyone that can't say, like, Jordan Love these last 3 weeks looks freaking awesome. Brock Purdy in 2023 has been mostly a badass. I can't help you. And there were moments with Jordan Love where it was rocky. And now looking back, you go, kind of understandable. Hadn't played at all despite being an older guy, and has figured it out. The other thing that's, very eye-opening is, and I guess we knew this when he was drafted, but the physical skills. He's got a big arm. He can move. His accuracy is a little hit or miss, but I can live with average accuracy if you're a big-time playmaker. That's always what Josh Allen had. Josh Allen was never going to be Drew Brees, Steve Young. That wasn't Peyton Manning. He's not going to be some pinpoint guy, but he's going to make so many freaking plays, it won't matter, and he'll overcome that. Now, I'm not acting like Jordan Love is about to become Josh Allen, but if you can become a big playmaker like he has become these last, 3 weeks, then he can carve out a niche as a really good starting quarterback. I don't know if he'd ever be, best case scenario, a top 5 guy, but you sure as hell can be a top 12 guy. And if you're a top 12 guy, I can build a playoff roster around you. And in the NFL, if I'm going to the playoffs every year, listen, even if we don't, quote unquote, ever make a Super Bowl run or ever win a Super Bowl, who cares? If I'm just winning 10, 11 games and being good on a yearly basis, that's all that matters. And I think the Packers are definitely in an intriguing spot now to be kind of that level team. And then just how good the guy can become. Because one thing we've learned, people forget, people thought Tom Brady was not that good relative to Peyton Manning in like 02, 03, 04. And that's when he was winning Super Bowls. A lot of people said very similar things that they're saying about Purdy. Not comparing Brock Purdy to Tom Brady, the player. But sometimes when you win, people want to, it's the team, it's the roster, it's this. We did it with Russell Wilson, right? It was Legion of Boom and everything. And obviously, he didn't have to do as much for some of those teams. But then when he started getting big money, the team started winning less, but he started becoming a great player. So there are always going to be a lot of variables with these guys. But right now, the Packers have a 2-year, $11 million contract with a guy that looks like you can go to the playoffs with. And you get 2 years to evaluate it. And that's an awesome position to be in, especially if you like the guy, He's coachable. He understands your offense. He fits what you're trying to do. That's all you can ask for. And I would say if they make the playoffs this year, you would fucking be ecstatic. I mean, it'd be one. I simply bet against the Packers this year based on the law of averages. It's like, who goes from Favre to Rodgers to just another top 15 quarterback? That never happens. I think the only one I could ever find was the 49ers. Went from Joe Montana to Steve Young to Garcia, who was never going to go to a Hall of Fame, but made several Pro Bowls, was really good, and they go to the playoffs with him. If Jordan Love becomes their Jeff Garcia, it's truly one of the great draft picks of all time. I mean, it really is. And based on these last 3 years, I don't know why, or last 3 games, I don't know why he couldn't. Now, we'll see how this plays out. I think they play the Giants this week, but you got to give them a lot of credit. Things change, right? I mean, 3 or 4 years ago, Uber was a dog shit company. They were losing money. They were, marred in scandal. It was a disaster. Now, as we sit here in 2023, because of the lockdowns, Uber Eats started thriving. Now their driver business makes money. Companies crushing. Things change. Sometimes they take a while to change. Sometimes they take a month to change. And my job is just evaluate it and talk about it as it changes. I'm never stuck on opinion. I thought Jordan Love stunk. Now I think he's pretty good. We'll see. We'll evaluate him game by game because that's all we got to go off of. That's what Brian Gutekunst is doing. That's what Matt LaFleur's doing. That's what Packer fans are doing. It's exciting, right? I mean, the reason 49er fans are so quick to defend their guy is because they're watching them go, this guy's pretty good. What are we talking about? Like, he's making $800,000. Hell, if he was playing like this, making 35 million, we'd feel good about it. If he's making $800,000 and he's on pace to throw 30 touchdowns and be the starting quarterback on a team that wins 13 or 14 games, and everyone's taking a shit on him because you thought he sucked 2 years ago, that seems like a you problem. So yeah, this quarterback stuff, man, it's just, it gets everyone in a tizzy because everyone is just they struggle so much to just change their opinion. I never understand that. I have nothing in common with that. I'll change my opinion tomorrow, yesterday. We're talking football players. They're constantly changing. Some are getting worse. Some are getting better. Some are going through struggles. You just evaluate what you see. When I worked as a scout, what did we do? We just evaluated the games. No broadcaster, all 22. You put in some AirPods, you listen to some music, listen to the radio, and you just fucking evaluated players. It was very emotionless. It's like, good or bad? Is he getting worse or are you getting better? Give the guy a grade. That's the business. And it's pretty easy to see when a guy's playing well or a guy's playing not well. It's like the Jets. I've been saying this over and over. Everyone, when the story broke about Diana Rossini said that Zach Wilson didn't want to come back, it was so easy to go after Zach Wilson. And like, I'm done having opinions on Zach Wilson, the person, the player. To me, this whole thing revolves around the Jets. It's easy to be like, oh, this guy has to play. It's his job. And listen, of course, if they want you to be the starter, you got to be the starter. They're paying you $9 million. To me, this is more about the musical chairs now for 2 straight years of getting in this situation. This is a reflection of the general manager. This is a reflection of the coach. And one thing I've heard over and over from people in the loop is it's not easy to work for Woody Johnson. He's got to have a lot of opinions. He always wants to talk to the GM. He gives ideas. David Tepper is doing something similar right now. So when I see Zach Wilson playing, I go, I bet the owner wanted to see him. And honestly, if the owner did, I'd probably side with him. Like, we're just going to suck with Tim Boyle? What's the point of that? We're paying this guy $9 million. Even if he does suck, let's just put him on the field. We're not winning games as it is. It's not like the guy you're bringing up off the scrap heap looks any good. What's the fucking point of playing him? Maybe we catch lightning in a bottle and he looks kind of good. And maybe we can offload him this offseason. I don't know. But there's no point from a value standpoint to play anybody but Zach Wilson. Zero. Just like the New York Giants sticking with Tommy DeVito. In what world you're so out of it, you're not sniffing the playoffs, your team stinks, would you go back to Tyrod Taylor? Tyrod Taylor is someone you play when you are trying to win a game because your backup is injured. Or excuse me, your starting quarterback is injured. And you're trying to keep your season alive. Your season's over. It's dead. So if you told me that John Mara looked at Brian Daboll and the coaching staff and said, listen, even when Tyrod's better, play DeVito the rest of the season. Let's see what we got. Why wouldn't you? I talked to a scout that went through Illinois. Do you know what he told me? He's like, Tommy DeVito's not bad. Because one thing we've seen with Illinois is not much change on their offense beside him. And they are dramatically shittier on offense. No one's acting like DeVito is the next Brock Purdy. but maybe he's not terrible. And maybe he could be your backup the next couple of years. So why would you not play him? Coaches are always, and this is a great part about the NFL, is the tanking. Everyone's always trying to win no matter what. No one's ever trying to throw a game, maybe the last game of the season. Hell, the Miami Dolphins owner offered Brian Flores all that cash every game to lose, and he refused. So coaches are very prideful, rightfully so. Players definitely are. But that's the right move. Play Tommy DeVito. Play Zach Wilson. How's this even a question mark? Now, Zach Wilson, I guess one thing I would defend him, like, you're just fucking with me nonstop. Like, you bench me, you bring me back. You did it last year, which a lot of that was self-inflicted. I acted like an idiot. But this year, from all reports, is like he's been much more mature. It's one thing to go last year to Mike White. Mike White's a real backup. It's another thing to bring Tim fucking Boyle. I mean, is Tim Boyle starting in the XFL or the UFL or the European League or whoever the hell's some 7-on-7 league? No. So to do that, I understand Zach Wilson. Like, you guys can't stand me anymore. So now you're going to throw me back in there? Now, part of it is it's easy to say, be a professional. We hear that all the time with pro athletes. Think about your own job, right? We obviously, most of us don't make, $9 million a year. So something that comes with the money is like, you got to take the shit. But it's, how often do you get angry at a boss, at a coworker, at an employee? And it's like, God, I gotta act like a pro here. But you don't want it for whatever reason. Someone pisses you off. Someone screws you in business. An employee just won't listen to you. A partner is being shitty. And you're like, it's so easy to be like, be professional, be professional. Like, we're all human beings. It's easy. We all get to a breaking point. We all, are biased in our own world and think we're getting screwed. So I understand if it is true that he was hesitant to go. Now he's ultimately starting. Maybe they talked him into it. I know Aaron Rodgers shit on the report, but regardless, like, it's much more of a reflection of this Jets turmoil to me than it is Zach Wilson. We learned who Zach Wilson was last year. Not very good. We knew that the Jets were completely over Zach Wilson, but because Aaron Rodgers and the Packers situation fell into his lap, they're like, oh, let's just keep him because they're kind of buddies. And we've seen this year what we saw last year. If you play him, you'll lose games. Like, that's a fact, Jack. So once you start going back and forth with all these no-name quarterbacks, just put yourself in his situation. Maybe you're like, God, this sucks. Now, ultimately, he did the right thing. That's all that matters. But I could understand him on Monday, like, oh, we're really doing this again. We're playing this musical chairs. It would suck. I mean, he's a human being.